Story 1. I found a trick. I reached 40 years old, and apparently my body clock has decided I don't deserve extra sleep on my days off. Story 2. With age, your body becomes accustomed to a specific waking time and tends to maintain that same time frame. Story 3. Get a dog and take it for a morning walk every day. Once the routine is established, it doesn't matter what time you want to wake up. If your dog is ready at 7 a.m. every morning, you will be encouraged each day to go for a walk, even if you don't want to. Story 4. When I am working, I wake up at 7:30. However, since that is a long-term habit, I can usually sleep in until 8:30 on my days off. When do you go to bed? If you frequently go to bed late, it is not surprising that you sleep well into the morning or noon on your days off. Story 5. For me, quitting drinking made a significant difference. I wasn't out all night, so I started going to bed on time, even on the weekends. Additionally, I wasn't hungover the next day, allowing me to wake up and feel ready to get out of bed. I don't miss drinking, but smoking is a different story altogether. Story 6. No matter how inspired I am at bedtime to get up early the next day, I always seem to snooze my alarm clock in a zombie-like state, convincing myself that going back to bed is the best option. I have a smart speaker in the hallway playing the radio, and my old smartphone next to that, so I have to physically get up and switch them off. Still, I manage to snooze them every single time. I'm at my wit's end here. I want to be able to get up at 8 a.m. on my days off and be productive. I'm self-employed and also have an evening job, so I work from 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m., but I tend to take Sunday and Monday off. I would love to get up early on both of these days and accomplish a lot, but I always end up snoozing until about 11 a.m. Then I feel terrible about it and don't want to do anything. I'm getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep most nights. Story 7. Going to bed early the night before is simple, but I don't like wasting my days off. Waking up early means I get to enjoy the full day. I always regret sleeping in. Story 8. Part insomnia and part habit. I get up at 5:15 a.m. during the week to work out before work, and at 6:15 a.m. on the weekends. If I take a rest day from exercising, it is very rare that I sleep past 6 a.m. I go to bed around 11 p.m. and wake up multiple times during the night. Story 9. Don't disrupt your sleep schedule the night before, even if you have the next day off. Story 10. I have cats, and if I tell you they are on a schedule, it's not a lie. If I don't wake up at 6 in the morning, one of them will be constantly in my face and bite any extremity that's out of the blanket. Story 11. It's more about routine than anything else. The extra sleep usually makes me feel unwell. However, waking up for work is 10 times easier. Story 12. This morning I had diarrhea, so I was up around 5:30 and decided to push through. The frequent trips to the bathroom helped keep me awake. Now I am sitting on the toilet. Story 13. I wake up because my cats are crying and jumping on me since I am 10 minutes late in giving them breakfast. Story 14. My work schedule has changed many times since December because a coworker had a stroke. I now don't know if I am getting up at 5:30 a.m. to open the store or 8:30 a.m. to close, which has completely ruined my sleep schedule. I go to bed at midnight, but I still wake up at 5:30 a.m., even on my days off. On my days off, I usually take a nap at 9 a.m. Story 15. Mentality. You have 24 hours in a day. Spend them as you wish. Just don't complain at the start of your day about how nothing was accomplished because you overslept. Story 16. As you get older, you may start to notice that you wake up at the same time regardless of when you go to sleep. Story 17. Sleep discipline. Go to bed at the same time each night, and after a while, you will wake up at roughly the same time even on weekends. Story 18. My brain is now hardwired to wake up at the same time every day, so on days off I get up at 6 instead of 5, and it feels like I have had a big sleep in. Story 19. I used to be motivated enough to get up at 4:30 for exercise, whether it was an off day or not. However, when I realized that nothing I did could improve my chances at romance, I understood that this was the real reason for my actions. I have since resigned myself to wasting my life away. Story 20. It's just a habit. I have to do it 5 days a week, so the most I can sleep in is an extra 20 minutes on my normal wake-up time. Story 21. It took most of my 20s to accept this, but I really do feel better when I have a regular sleep schedule. Story 22. Secret? You don't get this opportunity every day. Of course, you want to get up early and enjoy it. I usually get up around 9 during weekdays after 5 alarms and countless snoozes. However, I manage to get up at 8 on weekends. Once my eyes are open, it's time to rise. Story 23. Routine. I wake up early on weekdays and maintain the schedule on weekends. I get up at 6 a.m. and complete my workout. Regardless of the weather, it is part of my routine. Story 24. My secret is a pair of Quaker parrots who turn into loud screeching birds at 8 a.m. until I sit comfortably in my recliner, which is in front of their cage. I tried to ignore them this morning but gave up around 8:30. Story 25. I wake up and start my day. However, I struggle to get up early on my workdays. Story 26. I established a routine and schedule. My body has become accustomed to it over many years. Most of the time, I sleep an extra hour beyond when I would normally get up, but otherwise I feel like I am wasting my day. Story 27. Get a cat. Cats have no concept of clock time, only event time. The feeding event occurs at the same time every day, early if you were out late the night before. Story 28. I used to sleep all day on my day off. When I told one of my older coworkers that, he stopped what he was doing and gave me some solid advice. He said if you can get up for work 5 days a week, then you can get up for yourself on the other 2. Don't sleep your time off away. This was some of the best advice I ever received. Story 29. I have a job where I start work around 11 a.m., so I decided to start dog walking for extra cash, realizing that only money gets me out of bed. In addition, I started going to the gym again and noticed that if I stay up late, I just eat and feel bad about myself while scrolling through my phone. By forcing myself to wake up every day at 8 a.m., I now keep waking up early. The summer months help, and I set a soothing alarm so I don't wake up with a panic attack. I also deleted my social media apps, so if I want to go on, I have to use the browser or laptop, which isn't as enjoyable for scrolling. It's the happiest I've been in ages. Quitting alcohol and vaping has helped tremendously. The nicotine spike before bed was terrible for my sleep. I find that psychedelics help me calm my central nervous system, and walking in the forest has also been beneficial. Story 30. I haven't slept past 6 a.m. in decades. I haven't slept past 3 a.m. in 3 years. I work 6 days a week at 4 a.m., so it has become a habit. My old dog also needs his medication. Story 31. I have a child who conditioned me to wake up early. She is an adult now, and I wake up at 5 or 6 a.m. every day. Story 32. There is nothing better than being the only person awake, knowing you have the whole day off to just do whatever you want. Personally, I make a cup of coffee, enjoy a dab, and play PlayStation. It's incredible, and I look forward to every Saturday and Sunday morning when I get up at around 5 a.m. Story 33. You only have a limited number of hours in your life. You could die today. Are you going to waste the few hours you have sleeping just because you have to work like millions of others? Get up and do something. Seize the day. Story 34. I do not like sleeping. It is a waste of time, and I only do it because it is a biological need of my species. I sleep as little as possible. Story 35. Form the habit. One day you will go to sleep for the last time in this lifetime. Make the most of the time you have. Story 36. Have a child who wakes up before the sun rises and then absorbs energy from everything in the tri-state area. Story 37. I'm used to waking up at a certain time, so I guess my body is accustomed to it. That said, it's much more manageable waking up early when you realize you can continue to lie in bed and relax instead of having to get up and go to work. Story 38. My secret is that the toddler who sleeps in my house believes I am also supposed to wake up at dawn when they do. Story 39. Not my job now, but I used to get up at 4 a.m. for work. I tried to sleep in on my days off, but I could never sleep past 7 a.m. Story 40. I get up at the same time every day of the week. My routine is already optimized, so I'm not sacrificing sleep during the week. I can imagine it being different for people who lack proper sleep during the week. Story 41. Wake up in a panic. When you hear the alarm, open your eyes wide immediately. Jolt up in bed. Convince yourself it's an emergency and you need to be alert right away. Don't give yourself time to talk yourself back to sleep. I used to have insomnia, and mornings were very difficult for me. I noticed I could jump out of bed if I was running late, but I couldn't if I had time to snooze. Do not allow yourself the option to snooze. Story 42. My secret is that I can't stop thinking about everything I have to do next week. I believe it's anxiety. I don't want to feel that way. Story 43. I think it's just training, honestly. My body isn't used to sleeping in. I'm usually up before 6 at the latest. Story 44. By promoting and nurturing a healthy circadian rhythm and getting enough exercise, you can support this effort. However, this approach may not work for everyone due to factors such as fluctuating work shifts, intermittent noise, disruptive behavior from family, roommates, or pets, poor diet, lack of regular exercise, health issues, brain injuries, or developmental challenges. These factors can affect individuals in different ways. So some people may still maintain the ability to promote and nurture healthy circadian rhythms. If you are otherwise healthy, eat well, exercise regularly, and do not have anything disrupting your ability to sleep, but you are transitioning away from something that did, then much of the advice you receive can be helpful. Good luck to everyone. I wish you at least some restful sleep when you can. Story 45. It is not a choice and I dislike it. I woke up around 5 a.m. today. The cat is not even up. I am just watching videos. Story 46. I try to have a regulated daily routine, which leads to a consistent wake-up time. One thing that helps is sleeping with the shutters open. When I really want to sleep, I close the shutters so I can sleep until noon. Otherwise, even when going to bed at 4 a.m., I might wake up at 9 a.m. Story 47. It's not early, but it's about 2 hours later than I usually get up. When I start sleeping in past 11 a.m., I feel like I'm wasting my day, so part of it is just guilt. Story 48. I work from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. I eat dinner at 11 p.m. On Friday nights, I play a little Fallout, then go to bed and watch TV for an hour. 1:30 a.m. sneaks up quickly, and the child does not know how to close a bedroom door softly, slamming it shut at 7 a.m. So here we are with 5.5 hours of sleep. I'm up early. Story 49. I did it against my will for a long time. I forced myself to get up at the same time every day. Eventually, my body adjusted to the new routine. Now I wake up early without any problem. Sometimes I sleep in until 7 or 8, but that's about it. Story 50. My schedule is inconsistent throughout the year. Some days I have to leave for work by 6 a.m. and other days around noon. If I don't get up at the same early time every day, it becomes difficult to wake up early. I can sleep in maybe an hour on my late days and days off. I also seem to have synchronized my internal clock with my actual alarm. I almost always wake up at least 5 minutes before my alarm is supposed to go off. Story 51. Alarm clock and a reason for getting up. My cat's breakfast time is 6:40 a.m., and I would do anything for those furry little companions. Story 52. I prioritize my sleep and stick to a routine regardless of the day. This makes getting up on workdays much easier. Story 53. My body is accustomed to waking up early. I also love finishing my chores early, so I have the whole day to do what I want. Story 54. I live outside Snowmass, Colorado, and my secret is having unbounded beauty in my backyard. I can't imagine not exploring every inch of this wilderness. My time here is finite and I want to make the best of it. During the 5 months of prime hiking weather, I'm typically up before 5 a.m. on my days off and headed toward a peak. My motivation is my desire to see nature. The rest of the year, waking up early becomes a challenge. Story 55. When I'm feeling low, I usually go motorcycle touring, and I am happy to wake up at 4 a.m. for that. When I am with family, I get up around 7 to 7:30 to enjoy my morning coffee before the kids wake up. Story 56. I have a dog who expects to be walked at first light. In the summer, my day starts early. It is quiet because most people are still asleep, and the birds are just starting to sing. It is very nice, even if some mornings I wish it were raining. Story 57. Used to it, so maybe I'll sleep an extra hour. My cats are accustomed to being fed at a certain time. Story 58. As I entered my later 30 seconds, I began to enjoy getting up earlier than necessary. It is surprisingly soothing for my anxiety to have a few hours in the morning to organize my thoughts and enjoy some quiet time to think, read, have coffee, and watch the news. I have grown accustomed to it over the years and now cannot even fall back asleep if I tried. I wake up anywhere between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., with 4:30 or 5 o'clock being the latest, especially on the day I get home at 9 p.m. Story 59. Are you feeling well rested on your workdays? Or are you chronically tired? If you are tired on workdays, you may not be getting enough sleep, or you might have health issues or deficiencies. Consider talking to your doctor about it and having them run blood work to rule out any simple issues that could cause fatigue. It could also be related to mental health or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which tends to be linked with sleep cycle issues and difficulty getting motivated. Story 60. I have a cat. I want to get all the fresh vegetables at the farmer's market before the crowds arrive. If I wake up early, I can fit in at least one extra hour of video games. Story 61. I still set my alarm for the same time and go to bed at the same time to maintain my circadian rhythm. Story 62. Your body just wakes up. It's not an option. You also get more out of the day, and the weekend seems longer if I wake up at 6 a.m. Story 63. It comes somewhat naturally from waking up at the same time for years. I still set an alarm, though, since I have a cat that needs time-sensitive medication. Story 64. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. Aim for 7.5 hours of sleep each day. Consistency is key. Story 65. I am a morning person and cannot sleep late. My seizure dog takes medication at the same time every morning, leaving no option for me to sleep later. Story 66. Get up at the same time every day, and your body will get used to it. On your day off, drink coffee, eat breakfast, and then do some chores. This way, you can finish them early and enjoy the rest of your day off. Story 67. I only have 4 days off per month, so I have to make them count. There are no relaxing days off in my life. Story 68. I started to get ready for bed an hour before I actually go to sleep. Not 15 minutes before, not 5, not 1, but an hour. It's really important because if you get into the habit of going to bed 5 minutes before, sometimes you have things to do and end up sleeping late. At 8 p.m., I turn everything off, take a shower, get ready, read something, and by 8:45 p.m., I go to sleep to ensure I get the perfect REM cycle of 7 hours and 30 minutes. An hour before turning off screens, I like to use apps and settings to reduce blue light because blue light signals to the brain that it's daytime. Apps like Twilight for Android and the night light setting in Windows 10 or F.Lux work well. If you shower alternating between hot and cold water, you'll sleep soundly. Exercising intensively in the morning can also help you sleep better and reduce stress. I personally avoid coffee, especially after 3 p.m. I believe a healthy person with a good diet and balanced vitamins shouldn't need coffee to get through the day, and it can lead to real withdrawal symptoms. I only use it in exceptional situations. Over the years, I formed the bad habit of turning my alarm clock off and going back to sleep if I didn't have anything serious to do. To break this habit, I found an alarm clock that can be turned off with a QR code and discovered the app Alarmy. I generated a QR code, saved it on my computer as an image, and now every time I wake up, I have to turn on the computer, wait for it to load, find the image, and scan it to turn off the loud alarm. Setting the screen to be as bright as possible makes waking up easier. If you have a laptop or a second phone, upload the QR image there and take it to another room when you prepare for bed. Avoid napping during the day. Push through for a week and you'll feel better. If you must nap, limit it to 3 p.m. at the latest for only 20 to 30 minutes, using the QR code trick to wake up. Otherwise, you might struggle to sleep at night and end up in a cycle of sleepiness and needing naps. Another option is to gradually adjust the time you wake up each day to make it easier on yourself. With these tips, you can establish an easy sleep schedule. Story 69. I am fortunate to work from home and have a somewhat flexible schedule, so I never set an alarm. I let my body do its thing, and over time, it settled into waking up between 6:45 and 7:15 every day. I could force myself to sleep longer on the weekend, but I enjoy having a full day, whether being active and productive or lounging around with my dog. Story 70. I had to wake up at 3:45 several days this week, which is about 2 hours earlier than I normally do. I wanted to sleep in today, so I got up at 6, which is sleeping in compared to 3:45. I guess I wake up very early during the week, so waking up at a reasonable time feels like sleeping in. Story 71. I live in the Sun Belt, and if you want to do anything outside during the summer months, you have to get up early to beat the heat. I woke up early today to help my parents work on their vehicle before they take a cross-country trip. Story 72. The universe decides you don't get to sleep anymore. Today, it was my girlfriend's brother incessantly calling her, while she remained asleep, but I was awake. Last weekend, it was the dog vomiting on the bed. Before that, it was commitments I had agreed to and forgotten about. The list goes on. If you want true peace, then live by yourself. Story 73. It's simply what happens. On a workday, I can't get up even if the house is on fire. On a non-workday, I'm up at 3 a.m. Story 74. Anxiety wakes me up and I either fall asleep again or I don't, depending on how intense it is. Story 75. Years ago, I stopped needing an alarm clock. I wake up earlier than I ever need to and love it. I use my mornings as a quiet time for reading, reflection, and spending time with my partner. Story 76. I just wake up early, but I also go to bed at roughly the same time every day so that I don't get a mini jet lag. Story 77. Even if I sleep in, I would still feel very sleepy and groggy throughout the whole day. If I wake up early, there is intense grogginess for the first 30 minutes, but then I feel fully energized for the rest of the day. Story 78. Having a toddler who insists on waking up at the crack of dawn on weekends but can't be bothered to do it during the week when you are rushing for work can be challenging. Additionally, having a dog that you must walk early every morning is essential, or they will punish you by having accidents in your room. If you have both, you will definitely wake up early every weekend. Story 79. I wake up at 4:30 to 5 every morning for work. I am used to it now. If I sleep in until 6 on a weekend, it is a blessing. Story 80. I have a 2-year-old daughter. Never in my life before her had I seen 6 a.m. on a Saturday or Sunday morning unless I was still celebrating from the night before. Story 81. I only have 2 days off a week, and the thought of not using that time well makes me dread the other 5 days even more. Story 82. Sleep hygiene is important. I go to bed at the same time every night and wake up at the same time every day, typically within a 30-minute range for both, usually around 15 minutes. Consistency is key. Story 83. Being able to sleep in is a blessing that some of us can't experience. I would love nothing more than to sleep until 10 or 11 on weekends, but my body refuses to allow it, even if I go to bed very late. Additionally, my cat can be loud when it wants attention. Story 84. I get up at 5 a.m. every day during the week and have for years. My body just naturally wakes me up around that time. The last time I slept past 10 a.m. was when I was visiting my parents in England. I was confused when I looked at the clock and then realized it was jet lag. Within 2 days, I was back to waking up at 5 a.m. Story 85. I am a morning person. I don't drink anymore, and I prefer to go to bed around my usual time. On workdays, I get up around 6:30 a.m. On days off, it's about 7:30 a.m. So usually I still get extra sleep. I just don't have to set an alarm. Story 86. My body dislikes me and won't allow me to sleep because I changed my schedule to work early in the mornings. That's really it. Story 87. I swim early during the week, so it is easier to maintain a consistent schedule. I go to bed early as well. Story 88. My body won't let me sleep. After waking up at 5 a.m. to work a 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift for a decade, I have to try my hardest to stay asleep past 6 a.m. most weekends. For the most part, I don't mind. I'm a morning person, and I like getting an early start. But it would be really nice to be able to sleep in if I was out too late the night before. Instead, I just wake up exhausted at 6 a.m. Story 89. I get migraines, so lying in bed helps me manage for an hour. I wake up at 6:20 a.m. on a day off instead of 5:20 a.m. However, I do take a coffee back to bed and read. I don't like wasting my day off, so there's that. Story 90. I go to bed early the night before as soon as it gets dark, shifting my awake time to hours when the sun is out. Story 91. It just happens. I am so used to getting up at 5 a.m. for work that my body still wakes up around that time on my days off. Story 92. Eyes just open and my body says, "It's time." I plead, desperately requesting more sleep. My body cruelly laughs. Sleep is for the young, but I didn't want or need sleep when I was young. So I wake up early. Story 93. I'm an early to bed, early to rise person by nature, and I find that early in the morning is when I'm most productive. Story 94. Have a goal. I participate in dragon boat racing, and we have practice in the morning on the weekend. Today, I woke up at 6 a.m. because I have a union meeting and wanted to go to the gym before the meeting. Story 95. I get up at the same time every day and try to go to bed at a similar time. Maintaining a routine eventually makes things happen naturally without needing alarms or aids. Story 96. I am genuinely excited to not have to go to work, so the sooner I wake up, the sooner I can enjoy the day. An afternoon nap makes it even better. Story 97. In general, I feel more excited to start a day when I don't have to work than on a day when I do have to work. Story 98. I get up early for work, which helps. Additionally, make sure to go to sleep at a regular time or earlier the night before your day off. Story 99. I need at least 2 or 3 alarms to get up early, but my wife makes plans and appointments for the morning. As the day goes on, appointments usually get pushed back because some earlier ones run over their time. If we go to the first or second appointment of the day, we won't have to wait for whoever the appointment is with. This is especially true for doctors and other medical appointments. Story 100. Have something fun and exciting planned. If that is not practical, consider getting a pet or children who will keep you awake. Story 101. There are only so many hours in a day to accomplish everything I need and want to do. It is best not to waste any time. Story 102. My dog usually whines and wants me to wake up because he is bored. We often take an early afternoon nap to compensate. Story 103. A technique that helps me wake up early. 1. Close my eyes. Start counting to 100. Take a deep breath through my nose. Move to one side to clear my nose. If I have a lot on my mind, I just keep counting until I reach 100. If I reach 100, I do it again until I feel tired. Story 104. I wake up early during the week, which has carried over into my weekends. Additionally, I have a dog who doesn't let me sleep past 7. Story 105. I have not been able to sleep late since my son was a baby, approximately 28 years ago. The latest I sleep on my days off is around 8:30 a.m. Story 106. I get up to enjoy the day that is all mine. There is no getting ready for work, no deadlines, and no stress. I just relax with my dog, coffee, and a good book in my most comfortable clothes. Feels wonderful. Story 107. It's no secret that it's not just about getting up early, but rather getting up when you do. For most people who aren't second shift or night workers, that tends to be early in the morning. There's always something to do, and time is limited. Story 108. I am inadvertently training my circadian rhythm to expect consequences if I am not awake and alert by 7:20. Story 109. I own my own business, so I do not have any days off, but I also do not work a regular schedule on the days I do work. Additionally, there is a lot of travel involved with early morning flights. Story 110. Having a child that wakes up around school time, regardless of whether it's a weekday or weekend, is one challenge. Another trick is to go to sleep at a reasonable time on Friday night. In my 20s, Friday often meant going to bed very late. Story 111. Body clock and a toddler. I have been tired for 2 years straight, and I have accepted that this is who I am now. It's not too bad. Story 112. I do not want to be tired on Monday morning when I get up to go to work, so I stick to a consistent sleep schedule on the weekends to avoid that. Story 113. Keep my routine the same. My circadian rhythm is very accurate, so I try to maintain the same bedtime within 30 minutes since I will be waking up at the same time anyway. Story 114. It's just my internal schedule. I only need 5 to 6 hours. I also like to make the most of my free time because it is so limited. Story 115. Getting sufficient sleep each night and maintaining a regular sleeping pattern is important. This means that oversleeping is not necessary or desired. Story 116. You need to get relatively good sleep throughout the week. If you are exhausted, you will want to sleep in. Honestly, getting up at the same time every day is beneficial for you and makes your weekend feel longer. Story 117. My pets have such a natural sense of schedule. As someone who can be a bit chaotic, they help me establish a routine. Story 118. Consistency. I have been awake at 6 a.m. or earlier for years now. My body just knows. I am excited to go get a cup of coffee and start enjoying my day. Story 119. For me, routine is important. I am accustomed to doing this, so my body naturally follows suit. I have found that if I attempt to force myself to sleep in, it only makes me groggier than if I had simply gotten up at my usual time. Story 120. There is no secret. I have been waking up early for over 20 years for my job, so my body naturally wakes up at that time. I physically cannot sleep in. I wish I could. Story 121. I look forward to the activities I enjoy on weekends and my days off. Sleeping does not feel valuable to me. When I do sleep extra, I feel like I have wasted that personal time. Maintaining my regular sleep schedule is less disruptive to my routine. I do not nap either. When I feel tired, I go for a walk or engage in another activity to get my blood moving. I also have coffee for caffeine and drink water to stay hydrated. Story 122. I got lucky and went back to bed this morning, where I was able to sleep longer. My secret is that I have a dog who gets up between 5 o'clock and 7 a.m. every day. Since I'm accustomed to getting up for work, sometimes I find myself just awake and ready to go. Story 123. It's not a secret. It's a curse. I get up at 3:50 a.m. Monday to Friday to be at work by 5 a.m. If I am not vigilant, I will hit snooze too many times and end up late. Every weekday, getting up is a struggle. I always lie there for a second and think, do I really need this job? I'm sure I could find another one easily. But then Saturday comes, and at 3:30 a.m., my body is like, good morning. It's going to be a bright and beautiful day. I absolutely hate it. The rest of my family sleeps until 8 or 9, and just as they start waking up, I am ready for a nap. Story 124. I have 3 kids. Waking up at 7:30 a.m. is sleeping in for me because I wake up at 5 a.m. for work. Story 125. I dislike waking up at 3 or 4 a.m. for no reason. I can't fall back asleep, so I just get up, but by 6 p.m., I'm already sleepy again. Story 126. Years of going to bed at 7 or 8 p.m. and waking up at 3 or 4 a.m. to work out before starting my day. Now, no matter when I go to bed, I wake up around 4 or 5 a.m. without an alarm. I tend to be most productive before 11 a.m. Anything after that, I am much less productive. Story 127. I would like to know the secret for not getting up early on my days off. Sleeping in sounds wonderful, but my body thinks I need to be awake half an hour before my usual workday start time. Then, on workdays, I am dragging myself from the depths of sleep, struggling to get out of bed at the appointed time. It makes no difference what time I go to bed. I live in a state of perpetual sleepiness. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.